Hello, guys. Welcome to episode 2 of Seeds of Recovery podcast. My name is Natalie Banda, and today here we have our co host, Mr. Ruben Garcia. He's the clinical director of Mesquite Treatment Center. How are you doing today, sir?
I'm doing good.
That's awesome. That's awesome. I'm excited to be here and I'm excited to do this podcast with you because today we have some important topics to discuss. Right.
Wow. Well, I'm ready, girl. I'm ready. Just shoot away.
All right. So, what are some trends that are going on today with the new generation of adolescents that parents probably don't know what's going on?
In reference to drug use, well, and you know what? You can even jive in, come in on this one because, as I know, you're a counselor as well, right?
Right.
Cool. Well, I see that there's a lot of things going on behind parents' back,
Mm.
behind the scenes. Usually, people get together, communicate, and get in touch with each other, and they actually go out to different areas and meet up together with people without the parents knowing, basically because maybe the parents are working late
Mm-hmm.
or they're just tired and they just don't know what's going on. But nevertheless, there's a lot of things, parties that are going on. I remember the farm parties, as the people call them. They're actually not farm, FARM, they're farm, PHARM,
Oh.
which is a farm party for pharmaceutical parties where kids get together and they just bring a big bowl and they just throw a lot of pills in there, different kinds, different sorts, and you just pass by and you just grab as many as you can and you just take them and let's see what the effects happen. Let's see what it does. The problem with that is that there were many farm parties that were actually done that caused a lot of people to actually overdose.
Mm-hmm.
They developed dependencies from that time on, and many of them were trying it for the very first time that they didn't know what to expect. So it really did a number on them mentally, physically, and emotionally. So that kind of goes in there. And talking to a lot of the parents now,
Mm-hmm.
many of them, a big percentage of them, are just clueless about what their kids do in their spare time. And that's kind of dangerous.
Now, would you say it's clueless or would you say, they're not being supportive in the household or they just lack like the parenting skills?
Maybe they're not attentive as they need to be, but ignorance plays a big role. The word ignorant is not a negative word. It just basically means you don't know.
Mm-hmm.
And a lot of parents don't know how to maximize their time with their kids.
Right.
So their kids basically do what they feel like doing. Now it goes back to the original question of why do kids, Natalie, why is it that they do drugs?
Right.
What's so intriguing about drugs that they're willing to do stuff behind their back, sneaking out and doing this, doing that? What would be the biggest draw? What is it they're looking for?
Right. I feel like nowadays with these kids, all they really care about is wanting to fit in, maybe,
Hmm.
either at home or with friends, you know, they get they meet new friends and the first thing they do is like, okay, let's go to this party and let's go do this and let's go do that. Because that's their way of, having fun and making friends.
That's right. And you know what? They want to belong.
Yeah.
They want to be a part of something, and that kind of lets me to believe about if a kid is doing drugs because he's wanting to fit in or
Hmm.
wants to feel valued and feel like a sense of belonging, well, maybe this could be the red flag for the parents in the sense of this is what their kids are longing for. And if they're longing for something like that, is because
Hmm.
they're probably not getting that at home.
Yeah.
So this is where we need to talk with parents and let them know maybe you need to restructure your schedule, the way you spend time at home, the activities that you do at home.
Right.
Because again, you're only going to be allowed with your son or your daughter for an allotted time before they graduate and they leave the house. But the impact or no impact that will be caused during the school years,
Hmm.
can be so detrimental for a kid. So we need to then go back to we need to investigate, not that we're investigators, but we need to be able to be involved in looking out what is your kid spending their time on?
Right.
Do you really know the social platforms that they're involved in?
Right.
You know? Because They're doing drugs because they're longing for something, and that something is what's being missed in the home.
Right.
So we need to then go back and think, how can we provide the very longing that they have in their heart?
Mm-hmm.
Because studies have also shown that if we spend time and if we are taking care of the things that many young people are longing for, they have a less chance for them to actually get involved in stuff.
Right.
They're still looking for a high. Many of
Mm-hmm.
them will use drugs, Natalie, because and you know this. They say it helps me, sir, to escape.
Right.
What do they want to escape from?
Right.
It helps me, sir, to just forget. Imagine how impactful something must be in their life that they have to take a chemical and put it in their system
Mm-hmm.
so that they can actually forget.
Right.
Forget what? Maybe a pain, maybe a trauma, an abandonment,
Mm-hmm.
a decision that was made, the result, the loss of a relationship,
Right.
something. But if we do not take care of listening to them,
Mm-hmm.
of spending that quality time with them, of getting involved in what they're involved in,
Right.
we're going to lose another group of young people. And we've had our share of that because we talk to parents every day, we
Mm-hmm.
talk to kids every day.
Yeah.
And for me, it's alarming that when they say, I just don't know. I mean, how does he get involved with drugs? How does he have access? And I'm like, ma'am, does he have a phone?
Right.
Sir, does he have a phone? He said, well, yeah, but well, have you ever screened the phone? Have you ever looked out at the phone?
Right.
They have a lot of contacts in there. And all the social platforms that many of us parents, I'm talking about the older generation, we're clueless about, man. We're like, we don't know,
Mm-hmm.
but they do. And oh my God, are they communicating?
Right.
They can communicate with dealers. They can communicate with what's going on, what's going to be happening next day, next month, next week. I mean,
But
these guys are informed.
they also don't even communicate using words. They communicate with emojis nowadays, right?
With a lot of emojis because it's always changing.
Mm-hmm.
And as soon as you discover what's going on, they change it. It's always evolving, it's changing the way they communicate, the way they're trying to buy stuff, the way they're trying. But it goes back to the very root cause of why do they do that? Because
Mm-hmm.
they have this longing. What are they crying out for that we're not listening to that cry?
Right.
It is that right there that we need to pay attention to. I'm amazed at how little time families spend time together communicating and getting to know one another.
Right.
How many times, I mean, do they actually go out as a family and do something productive or something that's fun?
Mm-hmm.
And this is why I feel like we're struggling as a country, as a nation, when it comes with drugs because it's happening all over the place.
Yeah.
We're getting more busy and we're not becoming more connected
Right.
with our kids.
Mm-hmm.
And and it's a fight. It's
Yeah.
a fight, but we need to hang in there,
Mm-hmm.
you know? But I mean, what is it the one thing that you have heard that kids after they end up using drugs, how do they feel afterwards?
Most of them will say like they feel relaxed,
Hmm.
they feel like they could just forget about everything because some of them might feel like stressed, not motivated to do anything,
Hmm. Hmm.
honestly. You know, they lack their education. They don't even pay attention to school. They don't want to go to school. Sometimes some of these kids are really good at drawing, sports, and they fail to see that in themselves as well
And
because they get lost with, using the drugs.
but you know what? Also, with them feeling relaxed short term, but long term,
Right.
many of them have, and you know this, many of them have stated and said, you know, what started out as something that I thought was harmless has now become something that is now, it's breaking my world
Right.
because now I feel that I cannot function without it.
Right.
It completes me. They talk about drugs like if it's more real in a relationship, like a person, than
Mm-hmm.
the real people are.
Mm-hmm.
And that's when people start developing a dependence. And that's when it gets dangerous because it's all fun and games and the trips and the highs
Mhm.
in the beginning,
Right.
but it eventually turns into you become a slave, a
Mhm.
puppet per se,
Yeah.
that you want to break free, but you can't,
Mhm.
and you desire to. And parents are at their wits' end. They're wondering, what can I do? How did I lose grip of this?
Right.
And this is where you have to make some tough decisions here.
Mhm.
I mean, if you have to downsize, then do it. If you have to change locations, if you have to change jobs, I mean, do whatever it needs to be done so
Right.
that you can spend that time with your son, your daughter, because that's your most important investment in life,
Correct.
your kids.
Yeah.
And whatever you invest into, that's what you're going to withdraw, right?
Mhm.
So you need to invest quality time with them, connectivity.
Mhm.
Let them know that their value and worth is just, oh my God,
Right.
that they matter to you, you know?
Yeah, for sure. But so what would be some tips you could give out to some parents, especially now that some teenagers are maybe 16, 17 of age, but it's never too late to start with them, right?
No, I mean, you have to recognize that, you know what, if I've dropped the ball,
Yeah.
I dropped the ball. Let's take ownership.
Mhm.
Let's take ownership and start blaming, say, oh my God, have regrets and say, if I would have done this, if I would have done this differently, okay, it happened already. Look at where you're at right now
Mhm.
in the moment. The moment is right now, your son, your daughter needs you, needs your help. All
Mhm.
right. So, what are some things that we can do? Well, we can begin by let's start having personal, open conversations with our kids. Let's
Mhm.
start talking with them and asking them, like, what is the one thing that that drugs gives you? What is it that you're looking for? What is it that you're longing?
Right.
People say, well, they're just going to shut down and tell you like nothing, Miles. I'm good. I'm good.
Right.
But you see, if you keep on asking, if you keep showing that you care,
Mhm.
eventually, your kids will begin to open up with you.
Yeah.
So sitting down with them and having real conversations,
Mhm.
not fake ones. And by real conversations, I mean sit down with them and look them in the eye. Lean forward when you're
Mhm.
talking to them. Show that you're caring about them being there with
Right.
you.
Mhm.
Treasure that moment, treasure that time. The other thing that you can be able to do is also uh, control the social media
Mhm.
in your household. There's ways now that you can actually go to your some of your places where you get your Wi-Fi from and put restrictions and put holes or stop them at a certain time.
Mhm.
See, these guys are communicating through the internet,
Yeah.
through Wi-Fi. They're communicating with all sorts of people.
Mhm.
But we need to have serious conversations and say, listen, I do care about your future.
Mhm.
And you know what? I'm gonna be willing to do something here that maybe you might not like, but because I love you, I'm willing to do this.
Right.
And this is where I feel like it's tough love, man.
Yeah.
I mean, you have to get involved here
Yeah.
and get into the nitty gritty and have those uncomfortable conversations and have them sometimes maybe not understand in the beginning, but you have to be consistent
Mhm.
because you have to control the social media outlet in your home.
Right.
The other thing is, do you know where your kid likes to hang out?
Mhm.
Very basic things such as do you know who their friends are? Do you know who they like to hang around with? Have you ever called and met their parents?
Right.
We
Mhm.
used to do that back in the day, but now it seems like, oh no, everybody should be on their own and whatever somebody does, it's their business.
Mhm.
Well, your kid is your business.
Right.
And we need to get involved when you go to school,
Mhm.
ask questions to the teachers, monitor them.
Mhm.
You have to be involved in them. Have those real conversations, manage your social media, be able to just communicate with them, put restrictions in the home,
Mhm.
and also, I mean, go out with them.
Yeah. That's a big one.
And also, what is it that they like to do? What are their hobbies? I mean,
It's funny because you ask parents this and they don't know how to answer.
precisely,
Yeah.
and it is not so much funny, but sad
Mhm.
because hello, they live with you, right?
Right.
If anybody should know anything about their sons or daughters, the people that live with them.
Mhm.
Well, it's kind of amazing to me how so many parents, they don't know what their favorite food of their child is. They
Mhm.
don't know what their favorite color is. They don't know what their hobbies are or their likes,
Mhm.
you know. But all that is done because we don't spend necessary time. If you want to create a relationship, you're going to have to invest time, energy, and communication to it. If you don't, you're not going to have a relationship.
Right.
And a lot of it's sad, but a lot of kids that do drugs, many of them, and I'm talking about a big percentage of them, of kids that do drugs behind their parents' back, they have displayed and shared that they don't have a close connection with their parents.
Mhm.
But in their communication, when they're angry, they start sharing certain things that lets you see that that's what they're longing for.
Mhm.
So they're going to drugs to feel something in their life that only a parent can feel.
Right.
But if the parent is absent, the kid has no choice but to turn to an alternative, to something else that will try to fill the void that they have.
Right.
So, this is why it's important for kids and parents to not be afraid of therapy or counseling.
Mhm.
It's okay because I didn't know everything. But the
Right.
more I get involved, the more I research, the more I talk to somebody, the more I'm going to be in the know. And
Mhm.
we need to know more nowadays. We need to be more familiarized with what's going on
Yeah.
and not be on the back, end of things and saying, well, I'm just hoping that things turn out well.
Mhm.
No, you have a lot to do with it,
Yeah.
you know?
Mhm.
So that would be something that I would recommend, for people to do. Please get involved,
Yeah, definitely.
you know?
So, what would you say is, the most common drugs that adolescents are using nowadays?
By far, marijuana is still on top.
Mhm.
And we know that kids also do bars, Xanax bars,
Mhm.
um, even abusing prescription medication like Adderall and others that are used for ADHD.
Yeah.
And it's a parent's responsibility to make sure that if their kid is taking medication,
Mhm.
they need to be there to monitor that he's taking it properly and by the way the doctor prescribed it to be taken.
Right.
But one thing that right now is very alarming and
Mhm.
very, very dangerous, and in fact has become almost like an epidemic here in this country, is the drug of fentanyl.
Mhm.
Fentanyl is 50 times more potent than heroin, 100 times more potent than morphine.
Yeah.
It is a synthetic opioid,
Mhm.
and you cannot see it, taste it, right? So it's coming across, and only a grain, like for example, if you have two little grains of salt,
Yeah.
that's how much of fentanyl that somebody needs to ingest, to inhale,
Right.
to be able to pass out and even to die.
Right.
So it's very, very dangerous. So a lot of times, what a lot of people are doing is they're lacing
Yeah.
all these drugs that kids are already consuming now,
Yeah.
and they're saying, well, I know my plug, I know my dealer.
Yeah.
You really don't, because those drugs are coming from somewhere, from a source.
Yeah.
People are just buying them and then selling them and reselling them. You have no idea what process they went through.
Right. I always say these drug dealers don't really care about you. They just care about their revenue, what's coming in. If what it They might
There you
even
go.
know it has fentanyl, but even if that hits you has 10 times harder than what a regular pill will, as long as you're coming back, that's all they care about.
And it's very highly addictive, which explains why is it that drug dealers love it,
Yep.
because it's very highly addictive. So it keeps people craving and wanting to go back and get some more.
Mhm.
The only thing is that they cannot even measure how much potency the drugs have been laced with,
Mhm.
because they're coming from different parts of the world.
Yeah.
And synthetic basically means that they're man-made,
Mhm.
they're making them, and they're putting stuff in them. Originally fentanyl was used for people who would struggle with pain,
Yeah.
but they discovered that it was very highly addictive and they began to get abused. And nowadays, parents need to be very alarmed because even in some of the prescription medications that sometimes people get across the border, they're already coming laced. Some of the antibiotics and some of these. So you really need to really know who the pharmacies are. You really need to know who the doctors are. You really need to asking some serious questions because if a kid takes it unknowingly, thinking that he's just seeking a high, and he passes out and then he dies, that would be the most ultimate, most tragic, horrible thing that could ever happen to a parent.
Yeah.
But sadly enough, it's happening. From the year 2022 to 2023, there were over 60,000 people that died of fentanyl overdoses. And it's being carried and being brought over to the States in record numbers. And this is what people need to wake up to. If we do not get involved and start getting involved with our kids and seeing what they're doing, where they're going, who they're communicating with, who are they contacting, what's the social platforms that they have. If we don't start taking and becoming parents again, I didn't say friends, I said parents. If we don't stop, if we don't start being parents again, we're going to lose a generation. And you know what's really sad, Natalie, is that even people that are not occasional drug users are affected even by fentanyl because they put it almost anywhere. We need to teach our kids that when you go somewhere, don't just leave your drink there unattended. No, like you need to be responsible for what you have. That's why you need to make sure that the people that you're hanging around with, that they're actually pushing you, motivating you, encouraging you to go on and to pursue a good, honest, sober life. Because like you said, a drug dealer does not care about you. He just cares about making money. But so do the people that encourage you to just, hey, let's just go take a hit, man. It's the same thing. If I care about you, Natalie, I will never, ever, ever encourage you to do something that will be detrimental to your health. And many people today, many so called friends, are doing that to other people that they call friends. Come on, just try this. Just one time. That one time can be the most devastating and deadliest time in your life.
It all
So,
goes back to them wanting to fit in as well, because bullying can also be a big factor. All these degrading comments from friends, even from family as well. That makes them want to like escape in a sense.
and I think about, wow, talk about the bullying. I think about the three M's. Parents model a behavior, the kids mimic the behavior, and then the parents end up getting mad at the kid because of their behavior. We need to lead by example. We really do. All these, and it's hard to say this, but all these alcohol companies, all these drug companies, all they want to do is sell their product at whatever expense of the consumer. So we have seen how drugs, alcohol has become the greatest dissolving agent, right? It dissolves a family, it dissolves relationships, it dissolves your bank account, it dissolves your identity, your mind. We lose it. And now we're introduced by this monster called fentanyl, and it's coming across and it's getting us hooked. It's killing our young people. It's killing adults. And who's suffering the most? The families that are being torn apart. That the kids don't come home anymore. They rather be outside somewhere. Why don't they want to come home? Why don't they want to hang around with you? You see, this is what I'm talking about and what you were saying earlier that I think is very important. The kids are speaking, guys, but we're not listening. They're telling you, I need connectivity. I need you in my life, but we're not listening. but the drug dealers are listening. The negative influences are listening. And what are they doing? They're coming in and they're presenting and they're giving, and we're losing. And then we wonder, why is it that our kids are not home, or why they're acting in a rebellious way? Why is it that they want to be alone in their room with a closed door? Why is it that they don't want to connect with us no more? They don't want to go to the beach with us no more. They don't want to go to the zoo. They don't want to go nowhere with us. People say, well, they're growing up. That's just a phase. Well, there's some truth to that, but there's also something that we're missing. We contribute to that type of behavior by not paying attention to the cry of their heart. They're crying out. The kids are crying out, and they're speaking to us parents. They're speaking to us grandparents. They're speaking to us schools, to our teachers, and saying, come on, man, make me feel like I'm worth something. Give me value, please. Because the other ones do, the drugs do it, but it's only a temporary feel. And then addiction sets in. And then they start thinking, and how many kids, if I were to ask you, how many kids in the last month have you spoken to that have actually said something to this effect? He says, ma'am, I just don't feel that I'm good anymore. I feel like, what's the point of living? What's the point of even going forward anymore?
A majority, they get easily discouraged, and it's kind of sad because, just yesterday, someone was saying how she feels she's not good enough for her mom, that she's doing all the right things that she feels that she is, and mom doesn't see that.
So you see, she's longing and she's crying, but the mom is not paying attention to the cry. And because of that, here is a beautiful individual that can go southward. But I thank God for our intervention, because I know that you also have a lot of stories that of kids that have said, you know what, ma'am? Because I've heard them, I've talking to them, and I've asked them, tell me about your counselor, Natalie, a little bit. And they're like, oh my God, sir, if it wasn't for Natalie and calling me and checking up on me, sir, I don't really know. Honestly, I don't even know where I would be. She encourages me. She motivates me. She allows me to see a bigger picture, that for me to get involved in things that I never thought possible that I could. And it's like, for me, what greater reward is there? Because everybody can do something that makes a difference in somebody else's life. You just have to be willing.
That's why I love my job, doing all this and being there for them is what it excites me every day.
Because, hey, man, my God, this is awesome, man. Being able to change people's lives for the better, allow them to see a light at the end of the tunnel. And that's what it's about. And yes, there's a lot of drugs coming in here, but you know what? There's a lot of people that have said no to drugs because of interventions of counselors, parents that got involved, coaches, teachers, people that cared, that were related to them or not related to them, but they took the time to get involved and get them out of there. And you know what? There is time to do that. But we cannot afford to sit back and say, well, tomorrow might not be here. There is a price tag on your son or your daughter, and it's valuable. It's, oh my God, it's priceless, the price tag. So you need to do whatever it takes before it's too late. You know, we also have heard of the sad stories of people who had the opportunity to get involved but didn't, and now they cry the tears of regret. But you know what, Natalie? I thank God for the opportunity today to be able to speak with you, because for me, you're one of many. You're a world changer. And I have seen that, man. I've seen that you're a world changer. And anybody that just cares about people and willing to take the time to sow seeds, of positive, oh my God, that right there gives us a harvest of people that feel better about themselves. So, I mean, wow, I'm just amazed. I remember a kid that reached out to me,
Uh-huh.
and man, I knew that this guy was desperate, and he calls me one evening, and he says, "Sir, I need help.
Mhm.
I need help." And I said, "Well, we're gonna take care of you, man."
Mhm.
And lo and behold, he was in a correctional facility, and they let him go.
Mhm.
And that evening, early morning, he was supposed to be coming in on a Monday. They released him on a Sunday evening.
Okay.
Sunday early morning, the guy's dead.
No.
He overdosed, and we were waiting for him that Monday, but we were waiting for him.
Wow.
And then I heard the news of what happened, and I said, I just spoke to the guy
Mhm.
on Friday evening, and I could hear it in his voice, like, "Sir, I really need help." But you see, things happened.
Yeah.
Somebody did not pay attention to something,
Mhm.
and now that kid is gone. And we have lost some other kids who said, "You know what, sir? I'll go over there next week." And tell me, "Oh, you don't have next week."
Yeah.
And the parents were like, "Well, I'm gonna, I'm gonna give him the opportunity to decide." I go, "Ma'am, why did you call me in the first place? Because you were at your wits' end.
Yeah.
You were struggling, ma'am. Any time that you allow in between for him not to do anything could be detrimental." And sure enough,
Mhm.
they commit a heavy crime, they overdose, and then they die.
Mhm.
Time is crucial.
Yeah.
And I understand that maybe we don't know everything, but we have an opportunity to say something and say, "You know what? I don't know what to do. I don't know how to do it."
Mhm.
Well, give us a call. And if we cannot help you, we can refer you somewhere,
Yeah.
because there's many agencies who are waiting to just take you and help you and deal with you.
Yeah.
Those things right there, the tears of regret, we don't have to do anymore
Mhm.
if we start doing our part.
I think that comes back to tough love, you know. As soon as you have the opportunity to help out your child, take it. Because even if at that moment your child would hate you, resent you, is unhappy or whatever, but you know what? Give them time, because after a while they'll realize, like, okay, mom, you did this, or dad, you did this because you were trying to help me. You know, I feel like a better person now. So, tough love is important.
Tough love is basically saying certain things or doing certain things in a stern way
Mm-hmm.
that it might not be pleasant at the time,
Mm-hmm.
but you're doing it because you actually love and care, that you know that if you don't intervene,
Mm-hmm.
the kid can take a different direction.
Right.
And some tough love can look like maybe putting a restriction at home,
Mm-hmm.
maybe taking away the technology, the internet at 9 o'clock, doing
Yeah.
certain discipline things. I always think about how there's a small tree that was planted today, and they put the little stakes on the side and the strings so that the tree can grow straight.
Mm-hmm.
And every time a storm is coming, they tend to kind of cover it and try to take care of it and all.
Yeah. Yeah.
But in time, guess what? In time, the tree grows and
Mm-hmm.
the roots grow deep and the tree grows strong, right?
Mm-hmm.
Well, then the storms come of life, but you no longer cover the tree because it can stand on its own.
Mm-hmm.
But you see, when it's small, you're able to maybe do adjustments to the tree.
Right.
And even if you want to relocate it, you can relocate it kind of easily. But if you wait for the tree to grow and it grows crooked,
Mm-hmm.
I remember my wife one day, she said, "Hey, babe, we need to relocate that tree and move it over there." And I'm like, "Oh, come on now." I mean, it was a mature big tree. You're not going to be able to do that.
Mm-hmm.
But the thing is, guys, that if you wait a long time to intervene,
Mhm.
It'll be harder. Right now, the kids live with you, they're underneath your roof, they're
Mhm.
moldable. They still need guidance, they still need direction.
Mhm.
But we need to get involved. We need to take that first step. This is where you start putting the little stakes in the strings, per se. This is where you start putting a little bit of discipline. You start letting them know, listen, son, no, you cannot go to the party. I know it feels like
Yeah.
a bummer, but listen, son, you got to trust me in this. You got to trust me in this. And the kid will probably not like you and kind of like, man, you never let me do anything and run to his room and close the door. But you know that you cannot say yes to everything your kid asks for.
Yeah.
Because if you do, then your kid, God knows what he will be able to do.
Open doors for him.
Big time.
Mhm.
And your kid needs to learn responsibility too.
Mhm.
Part of living in a home is being responsible at home as well.
Yeah.
So, does he help you around with the chores? Like, hello.
Mhm.
I always ask parents, I mean, you know I do.
Yeah.
I always ask the parents, who cuts the grass in your house? And when they raise their hand, it's like, well, I do. Who, man, you already start wrong. Who
Mhm.
washes the dishes? Who washes clothes in your house? Who mops and sweeps? When the answer is me, the mom says, I'm like, okay. Remember, the two main questions that we need to ask parents all the time is, how are you preparing your son or daughter to become the man or woman of tomorrow?
Right.
Now, that's a very important question.
Yeah.
The next question is, and let's be honest, being open here, in what ways are we contributing for our sons and daughters to remain and be the way that they are?
Mhm.
Because we might be helping the cause of them getting rebellious and going and being on their own.
And that's true because most of the kids, the clients will say, "Well, I don't see a big deal in me smoking because my parents let me. As long as you do it here in the house, then you're fine." But then I feel that opens up doors for them to be like, okay, if I go to this party, then I can do this drug here. And tell my friends, nah, my mom's cool with it. Like, come to my crib, come to my house. We could do it here. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
And then that exposes them to other types of drugs.
That's why I mentioned earlier about what you model,
Mm-hmm.
they will mimic. And then one day trouble comes and now you're getting mad at them. And they're looking at you all confused saying, wait a minute, you do the same thing.
Yeah. Yeah.
So we need to get to the point that we can lead by example. What you want to see the outcome of your son, make sure that you model it yourself.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, seriously, having kids, I had kids, I have kids and grandkids.
Mm-hmm.
Having kids is easy, but raising them and training them, now that's a challenge.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
But how glorious of a challenge it is. Because if you take care of a garden and you feed it what you're supposed to feed it and all that stuff,
Mm-hmm.
all the flowers grow and they're blooming and they look bright, and then you start doing a little pruning here and there, cutting
Mm-hmm.
here and there, and it's sometimes necessary to prune here and there
Yeah.
so that growth can continue, right?
Yeah.
So don't be afraid to prune.
Mm-hmm.
One day your child is going to leave your house and walk out your door. He's going to be out there, everything that he saw modeled or she saw modeled in here.
Mm-hmm.
Now, that can be encouraging for you or discouraging, but it's the way you're raising them today.
Yeah.
So I want to encourage you, get involved,
Mm-hmm.
get to know what your kids are into.
Yeah.
Get involved, have those open, deep conversations, put tough love sometimes, restrictions, discipline, boundaries in the home.
Mm-hmm.
Don't be afraid to do that,
Yeah.
because what is at stake here? Your son, your daughter's life.
Mm-hmm.
This is where I feel that we need to do a better job in.
Yeah.
We really do, Nelly. And I get excited every day to just come to work, and they say, well, what wakes you up in the morning?
Mm-hmm.
It's awesome when you look at somebody and say, purpose, man.
Yeah.
Purpose wakes me up, man. What wakes you up?
Mm-hmm.
Today, my wife has, what are you gonna do today? I'm gonna encourage and try to have somebody see the ability to see a light at the end of their tunnel.
Yeah.
You say, I can do this.
Yeah.
Because if you fell in a hole, guess what? If you're still breathing, you're still alive. That means you can get out of that hole.
Yeah, for
So
sure.
let's go.
For sure, for sure. I enjoy my job too. These past 2 years of being a counselor, I feel like I've grown a lot.
Mhm.
And just working with this population of kids has shown me how much they're struggling and shown me how much they need someone. In the past couple, I've had a couple of clients who, at the school, they would come into my classroom crying, you know. And then my first thought is like, they feel comfortable enough to talk to me because maybe they don't have that structure at home. And, you know, like how we were talking about earlier, they long that support, that love at home, because the majority of them complaining is because of the parents. And it's kind of hard because, some kids fortunately have parents who are there for them, support them. And then there's another side where it's just, parents are drug addicts as well.
Mhm.
They don't really have support or care what the child does. The child comes as they go. And it's just really heartbreaking to see them, because I've had couple of times where they tell me, like, I'm trying my best, like I'm doing the best that I can. I'm coming to school, I'm working, like I help my mom, clean the house, I do this, but as soon as my mom's on her trip, or as soon as, my mom's having a bad day, like she attacks me.
Mhm.
And it's pretty sad.
Well, that's why we need to, like, again, you need to find out what's going on.
Mhm.
You need to get involved there.
Mhm.
Like, the kids are telling you. Now, parents, this is just a little tip here. If you want to know how drugs are being passed around in the school and all that stuff, ask your kids, man.
Yeah.
They will tell you. It's amazing how much the kids can educate you.
Mm. And I think it's important for parents to get educated, though, and about mental health, what's going on in school, what's going on with them emotionally, and drug education as well. Because I feel if they're not educated in what their kid is doing or the drugs, then they're not really gonna understand their kid, or know how to communicate with them. You know.
Go get a Whataburger, man. Do a barbecue at home,
Mm-hmm.
and just have conversations like, "Hey, son, I was just wondering something. How do what's the big deal with drugs, seriously, in the schools? How do they just bring them in
Yeah.
there and watch your kid just unload his, oh, mom, oh, dad? You know what, man? My friends, they just put them in their backpacks and they were just passing them out. And
Mm-hmm.
it's like, but how do they just, he said, yeah, this is the way they pass them. This is the way they sell them. This is the way, whatever.
Mm-hmm.
But isn't there security there? And then they start disclosing a lot of things to you,
Yeah.
which gives you knowledge. And why do you think, Mijo, really, in your opinion, why do you think that drugs are so popular for your friends that do them, or the kids that do them in your school? Why do you think it's so popular? I mean, be honest. I'm just wanting to know. You see, you're not being threatening. You're not coming across as, why do you do drugs?
Yeah.
Because if you come across in that way, they're going to shut down.
Mm-hmm.
But if you're willing to have conversations that are non threatening,
Mature conversations.
precisely, and treat them like young adults that they are,
Mm-hmm.
and have those conversations, then they'll be able to feel more relaxed to kind of let you know and maybe get you into their world.
Yeah.
And says, Mijo, and what is it that you aspire?
Mhm.
What is it that you long for? And listen to the answers,
Yeah.
because that will give you a key of what they're longing for in their heart.
Mhm.
And then it allows you to make a plan. And here what we call about the reshaping, reframing stuff into, what can I do as a parent to better be there for my kid,
Mhm.
to better be there to support them, to better be there to make them feel like they're valuable, that
Yeah.
they're worth a lot to me, that I care about them, that I love them,
Yeah.
you know? So, I mean, it's pretty awesome, all this. But I'm hoping that our listeners, man, are able to just take some of this stuff
Yeah.
and run with it.
Mhm.
And not only just take it, but educate others.
Yeah.
The bottom line is, and I want to just say this again, I feel it's worth repeating, kids are crying out.
Mhm.
They really are. Even if it says, well, they're not crying. I don't see no tears. Okay. They're crying. Hey, man, inwardly, there's an inward cry.
Yeah.
Because if I'm willing to go somewhere sneaky and put a chemical in my body that does not belong there to get a certain feeling or high or a trip to take me somewhere
Mhm.
away from something, I just said a mouthful.
Yeah.
I don't have that where I'm at.
Mhm.
And there's a reason why. Maybe parents, we're too busy. We need to, hey, hold back a little bit.
Mhm.
We need to stay away from our social media stuff because there's a lot of parents and adults, man, that are in their phones all the time,
Mhm.
in their tablets and in their work, in their computers. I mean, hello, work is always going to be there,
Mhm.
but your kid is only going to be there for a while.
Yeah.
So make sure that if they're going to model anything, let them model the good.
Yeah.
Let them model good behavior, good choices,
Mhm.
because that can be done.
Mhm.
Awesome.
For sure.
Yeah, we can go ahead and wrap it up. Just like, hey, thank you for like, hey, Mr. Ruben, or hey, Natalie, thank you for this episode. It's been great. I'm looking forward to more. And then also just closing it up with a message for the parents.
Mm. Well, thank you, sir, Mr. Garcia. Thank you so much for being here with me today this week. It was awesome, having these important discussions with you, these
Mhm.
topics. And I hope the viewers, like how you said out there, get inspired and educated and, feel encouraged, to make a change and start with the now. The
Mhm.
past is the past. Let's forget that. Like, what can we do now to perfect the future, right?
Wow. Well, thank you so much, Natalie, man. You're awesome. You're awesome,
You're
girl.
awesome too. You're awesome too. But do you have any tips or last message that we can encourage parents out there?
Don't give up. Don't give up. You probably if you say, "Ah, man, I already wasted a lot of time," but you know what? You got today. Today
Mm-hmm.
is a good day to start. I've always said any day that ends with day is a good day to start something good. Why? Because today can be the difference maker.
Mm-hmm.
Today can be the day that you get intentional and actually, when your kid goes before you, you can actually go up to him or go up to her and just say, you know what, forgive me, I'm sorry, I'm going to be more attentive to you. What can I do to help you? He said, Mom, nothing. He says, no, I want to be able to serve you. What can I do?
Yeah,
Make yourself available because kids are longing for that relationship, you know?
definitely. That's powerful. That's powerful for sure. But thank you so much. I appreciate it.
Well, next time, make
Uh-huh.
sure that you stay tuned because episode 3 is coming of Seeds of Recovery here in Mesquite Treatment Center.
Yeah.
And hopefully we can do this again, girl, because you're pretty awesome, man. All
I
right.
am. I am
And I
awesome.
learned from you. I
Mhm.
learned from you today, so that was pretty cool.